Welcome. Thanks for joining us for Faces of Farming. I'm Cheryl Mitchell, the president of Tree Leaven, a retreat and learning center located on a sheep farm here in Addison County. And I also had the great pleasure of working part-time as the farm to community mentor for NOFA, the Northeast Organic Farming Association. I'm really thrilled today that Michael Good has decided to join us. He is the program associate for the Community Food Securities Program. So thank you, Mike, for coming.
Thanks for having me, Cheryl.
So we thought maybe we would start by just asking you, I know you came from away, from Pennsylvania, from Lancaster County. Can you tell us your journey? How did you end up here working with NOFA?
So it's a bit of an interesting one. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. I kind of always imagined myself being a doctor, an orthopedic surgeon. I thought I was destined to work with bones and team sports, and then so I went off to college with that track in mind, doing pre-med, and then I found myself working more with community in public health, and then eventually kind of later on in college I started working for a project called Baltimore Healthy Carryouts. I went to school in Baltimore, and a little bit different of a city aspect, and I worked for this group, Baltimore Healthy Carryouts, which was kind of looking at doing nutritional food assessments, so understanding what healthy food was available to residents in the low-income areas of East and West Baltimore, and realizing how the food deserts kind of led to negative health impacts for the families that lived there. So kind of understanding this connection between health outcomes and food. And through that experience, that's kind of was my first introduction to food and how it could have impact on people beyond just, was there food there, but actually how it had possible negative long-term health effects. And that made me kind of realize and kind of orient myself more towards understanding the impact that food had on health. And eventually I kind of, through some other experiences after college, I kind of realized that I had this idea of food and this idea of nutrition, but I didn't really know anything about how food was produced. And I kind of, before that, I had this naive idea that if you put vegetables on store shelves, customers, people will come and they'll be gone within the hour. And really kind of working with communities in Baltimore made me realize that, that's not the truth. Like, that's a great idea in practice, but that's not how it often turns out. So just through my experiences, I kind of realized, and talking with some mentors that I had, college and post-college, made me realize that I kind of need to learn more about how food was produced, and maybe through that I would have a better understanding of why fresh vegetables aren't consistently being displayed and sold at smaller bodega style stores in the urban areas. Or the rural areas face the same issues, and food deserts are also think as a urban issue, but realizing that these issues also face rural populations, and realizing that, and realizing I didn't really know how to talk to a farmer and ask them, even if I wanted to ask them, why aren't you selling your produce to Jim's Corner Store, I didn't even know how to start that conversation. So then in the summer of 2013, I moved up to Vermont to attend the farmer training program at the University of Vermont.
The one for UVM.
Yeah, so I did that, and it was the third year of the program. And I was lucky enough to do that with a great group of people. I had never been to Vermont before, and kind of took a leap of faith to come up here. But realizing that it was important for me to understand this information, and it was really good to kind of do that in an environment, a supportive environment of like-minded peers, and really commit myself to understanding, or trying to understand, or better learn agriculture from a business perspective, from a production perspective, from a market perspective. And so I did that program. It was really great. Fell in love with Vermont, and realized I didn't want to leave. And it just so happened at that same time, right when the program was ending, in end of October, that this AmeriCorps position at NOFA became open as a community food security program assistant. So working on the programs at NOFA, and I just saw it as a great bridge of this food access work I had background in, and kind of interested in kind of the health outcome side of it, and this newfound interest in agriculture. And I just found that the position to be really kind of help bridge that, as well as this component of cultural competency and working with NOFA to create a workplace that was more culturally inclusive and diverse as part of the We All Belong program, which is my AmeriCorps program that is through the Community and Economic Development Office in Burlington.
It's called We All Belong?
We All Belong program. So it just was a really great opportunity to kind of that brought my interests together, my diverse interests together. And at graduating college, I was like, what am I going to do? Can you make a career in food and like this health? I've gained the confidence through my past experiences to realize that you can come at food from many different angles. You don't have to come from food from a strictly agricultural perspective. You don't have to come from food from a strictly social justice perspective. You don't have to come from food from a strictly business perspective. It's, I see food and the food movement and agriculture and food access as being this one idea that can really bring people together. It's like you hear it all the time. Everybody eats, and realizing that there's many different partners or potential partners involved with the local food movement and just the food movement in general. That that's really exciting to me. And there's never a dull day. There's always more to learn, and it's been great.
Well, you bring an incredible amount of energy and enthusiasm to this, and I'm wondering, it really is quite a diverse background, but it does all fit together. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about, you came from Lancaster County, which was a farming community. What's that like compared to Vermont? Or what's Vermont like compared to where you came from?
I mean, it's something that's always kind of amazed me, where I grew up in Lancaster County. And anybody that's ever been there, it's very rural, pastoral, rolling hills, lots of dairy. The Amish is, if you don't know where I'm at, I usually just tell people, you ever hear of the Amish? And they had their own image attached to kind of what that land looks like. And to me, it was always surprising that, maybe it's because I was more focused on science. I was kind of coming at it from a medical background originally. Thought I was going to go that the medicine route, and maybe it was just I was unaware of agriculture. But that's something that I wasn't taught in school. It wasn't really embraced.
I think most of us weren't.
No, we have Lancaster Central Market, the oldest indoor market in the country. It makes all these top 10 lists, but you go to that market and you don't understand the agricultural component that goes into supplying that market, or where these how seasonality isn't necessarily as integrated into how people think about food, or where the food comes from, or knowing your producer isn't as strong up here as it is up here. And so that was kind of one thing that was kind of shocking and kind of energizing about Vermont, is like the direct marketing perspective of knowing your farmer is really embedded into the values of Vermonters, much more so than Lancaster County.
Maybe that's relatively new. Maybe that's the work of NOFA and the farming program that you did, and some others. When you talk about direct markets, what do you mean by that for people?
So direct markets generally means the ability to buy direct from your farmer or your food producer. So in the absence of the middleman, for lack of a better term, so rather than buying the food from the grocery store or from your co-op, you're making a direct transaction with the producer of your food. So it allows the food producer to get a higher cost for their food, a true cost. So it's great for the farmer, and it's also great for the consumer, because there's that level of transparency, where your food's coming from. And there's the greatest thing is the ability to ask questions. Ask questions from your producer, of getting to know more about the food that they're producing. How would they cook this piece of produce? What's their favorite recipe? What practices they use to produce that food. And
so what advice do you have for people who are shy about asking those questions? You sometimes hear about, you walk into a farmer's market, you don't want to make eye contact because you're embarrassed if you don't buy something. What would you say to us? How do we become comfortable working with farmers?
I was in that situation, and I guess I took the route of kind of really making my life about that for 6 months, and that helped me in my comfort level, realizing that's not a realistic option at all for everybody. So kind of like the recommendation I kind of give people for farmers markets is, specifically, we'll talk about farmers markets, is, a farmers market is a social environment. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, it's a place where communities and towns that gather once or twice a week. So there is a sense of community there. There's a sense of investment by the vendors and the managers and the people that really help this market go. So that they want this to survive in their community, and they want the market to serve their community. So I think that's one piece of mindset, a good mindset to have as a customer before you can go in. And I think the first thing I always say is bring a friend. Bring somebody along with nobody. It is intimidating. It's a much different market than a grocery store where you can go in with your cart and your shopping list and you know where everything's at because you've been in the grocery store before. But imagine if you never walked into a grocery store before. The first thing you would probably do is take a look around and get to know the place a little bit. What's where and what's what. So bring a friend, take a lap. And maybe
take a lap
around the market. See what's there. You're not expected to buy the first tomato you see if you're there for tomatoes, And maybe it's something you start small. So what's something you eat every week that you're going to buy at the grocery store, but you would rather buy it from the farmer's market? So maybe identifying that one product. Maybe it's this week it's a head of lettuce. Mm-hmm. So being able to go to the farmer's market and be like, all right, I'm going to buy a head of lettuce. That's the one thing I'm going to buy this week. I'm going to get the courage. I'm going to buy that one head of lettuce. Take that, bring a friend. Like, Sam, we're going to go to the farmer's market this week. Want to come with me? It'll be great. Get Sam to come with you. Take a lap around. Know that you're going to buy that lettuce. Look at all the lettuce that's there because there's going to be different kinds. There's going to be different kinds from different producers. There's going to be different sizes of lettuce, different costs of lettuce. So taking that lap, understanding that you're going to be buying some lettuce, see what's out there. See what varieties, see what choices are out there. And then, after you've made that lap, you and Sam could have a great discussion about, who should I buy lettuce from? And if you're in between two and you can't really make a decision, maybe you ask the question of, what's special about this variety of lettuce? Uh-huh. So that's how you kind of ease into the farmer's market. And then, you start with that one product and, maybe you are between two producers. You ask those two producers, what's special about this lettuce? Because producers are going to be proud of the produce that they bring to market. And, they are direct market salesmen because they want to be able to have an interface with customers. So understanding that farmers know what they're getting into. They're expecting somebody to ask questions. And, they often, have plenty of things to say and talk about their produce. They're proud farmers generally. So you identify that lettuce and, you're down to two. You make your decision based on the answer to those questions and you purchase your lettuce and you are now a farmer's market customer. You've done it. So that's my kind of recommendation.
That's a great explanation. That's how to get yourself into it.
And then the next week, you're like, oh, I bought lettuce. That wasn't so bad last time. I'm going to buy lettuce and one cucumber this week. Or maybe I'll strike a deal, and get a lettuce and a cucumber, for maybe 50 cents off. So there's ways to navigate a farmer's market. A lot of it's just getting comfortable with who's there. And what's great about a farmer's market is, and going back to the direct market, and there's a relationship that starts to form between the customer and the farmer, is those vendors should be there. For most markets, they're going to be there every week. So you can start to form a relationship. Where then the next week you go back and you talk to that farmer who you bought lettuce from. That lettuce was really good. Is there anything else you recommend I try? Or maybe they have a unique vegetable that you're not familiar with. Mm-hmm. Most people probably aren't. That's why they brought it to market. They want that shock value. Yeah. They want you to look at it and be like, "What's that?" Ask questions. Okay. Because that keeps you. From a farmer's perspective, that keeps you around their stall longer. The longer you're browsing, the more likely you are to buy something. Mm-hmm. So if there's something unusual like a rutabaga, like a kohlrabi, ask what that is. It's not in the grocery store.
So what about the perception that things are more expensive at farmers markets or direct sales than they are in the grocery store? Is that accurate? Is it inaccurate? Is it mixed?
So we've done a study in 2011 with farmers markets specifically of kind of comparing prices between farmers markets from both an organic and conventional perspective, again, and comparing the organic and conventional at the farmers market against organic and conventional products at the nearby supermarket. And what we found was for most products, with the exception of, I believe, of potatoes, was that specifically when a product's in season, it most times is cheaper than what it is in the supermarket. And especially when it comes to organic produce, your organic produce, in-season organic produce, you can really get a deal when it's in season compared against your local grocery store. So oftentimes, in the season, it pays money back in your pocket to be able to buy that produce in season. So there is that educational component of becoming aware of when certain products are in season, and that's a resource that NOFA, for instance, has. And so what I recommend you doing is maybe visiting a NOFA website, or I'd be happy to to share that information, so anybody listening can get a hold of me.
Know what's in season.
Yeah, and send me an email at mike@nofavt.org, and I'd be happy to send that seasonal cheat sheet to you. And that's something you just put on your fridge. Tack up on if you have a tack board, and just kind of understand. Okay, it's beginning of the month. This vegetable's coming in season. It probably makes sense for me to go to my farmer's market first. So that's another thing. Yeah. Farmer's market first. See. It's going to be the freshest, highest quality produce you're going to be able to buy. It's not being shipped from far away, as many products are in supermarkets. And so maybe it's, even if you don't buy anything at the farmer's market that week, if you're nearby, if it's accessible, stop by the farmer's market, see what deals they might have, especially for that produce that's just coming into season. So that's my first recommendation when it comes to food. And also CSAs are generally a great deal.
Can you explain more what CSAs are?
Yeah, so CSAs are community supported agriculture. So the idea is that an individual buys a share of the farm up front. So they'll do an upfront payment for a season's worth of produce. So for instance, let's just say a small share at your neighborhood farm down the street that is you drive past on your way to work. You can ride your bike there if you want to pick up the vegetables. So it's a nearby farm that's accessible to you. You pay, let's say, $500 for a medium-sized share. That medium-sized share serves 4 people, so that, and you have a partner and two kids. So that medium-sized share is perfect for you. It's $500. So you apply to the farm. You fill out an application to the CSA farm in the beginning of the year. Most farms begin accepting applications.
Are they accepting applications now?
Right now.
So people aren't too late?
No, not too late at all.
Okay.
So usually, a farm will start in accepting applications February for some, commonly in March, and usually up to mid-June, or sometimes you can get in late if there's still space available in the CSA, and they'll prorate the total cost so that it corresponds to the number of weeks that you get that share. So it's not too late for anybody that's interested. I think it's a great option over the course of the season. It's a great value compared to the cost of that produce at a grocery store. And CSA farms generally have those numbers. If you're ever interested and ask questions like, well, how much of a deal?
So
am
do
I
people
getting?
have to still go and pick their own produce at the CSA farms, or do all the CSA farmers offer the boxes and deliver?
Every CSA is a little bit different, but I can generally say most CSAs, they'll harvest the bulk of the produce for you, whether they pre-box it and you just go pick it up and you go on your merry way, or some have maybe they'll have it out in different containers, and then you show up and you pick which of those you want, and then you put them in your own box or a basket they provide you or a bag they provide you. And then some farms will do a combination of those, and they may have a pick-your-own component to their CSA, which is part of their own marketing. Maybe they'll have pick-your-own strawberries, or pick-your-own flowers, or pick-your-own peas, so that, which is great because you can go there, you can interact with the farm, and you can kind of, you can get your hands a little dirty.
So you can feel like it a little.
Yeah, so it's, there's different little models for each, and so that's one reason we kind of encourage people, if they're interested in getting a CSA, to kind of learn more about the farms in their area early, and get to know what makes their CSA different from the other CSA next door.
So let's talk about, if we go back to farmers markets, for people who have limited incomes, people can use what used to be called food stamps.
Yeah.
It's now called EBT. Can
Yes.
you talk about how that works?
So 3 Squares Vermont's benefits are the the SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits that are put on EBT cards at the beginning of the first of every month. And there are over 45 markets in the state that currently accept EBT. So that allows people receiving 3 Squares Vermont benefits to access, to be able to use their benefits at farmers markets. And to learn more about which market specifically, you can visit VermontFoodHelp.com. VermontFoodHelp.com or dial 211, and then they have an updated list of markets that are able to accept EBT benefits. And so how that works, I can take a moment to kind of briefly talk about that, is we say look for the yellow sign at the market, and the yellow sign is an indicator of where you actually physically will swipe your card to be able to use your benefits. So how it works is you'll go to that yellow sign at the information booth. There'll be somebody sitting there with an EBT machine, an EBT debit machine, mixed use. So if you don't bring cash to the market and you have a debit card, you can also use your debit card at this machine. Which is great for a lot of markets when tourists or like you're in a town you don't know and like, oh, the farmer's market, you just pop in. So if you never have cash, you can use your debit card at these same markets. So as an EBT customer, you go up to the stand at the yellow sign. You tell the person that's staffing the machine how much you like to spend at the market that day. You can use any increment you want, just as you would at a grocery store. And this another thing we kind of encourage you to take a lap in the market first. Maybe
so you'll have some
maybe
idea.
get a shopping list, kind of what you want to buy, about how much you'll spend, and you let the person who is staffing the machine know that. They'll type it in. They'll show you. You swipe your card. They'll print out. You enter your PIN. They'll print out a receipt, just as you would in a retail store. And then in exchange, you'll get $1 tokens up to the amount you indicated. So if you say you want to spend $10 in your EBT benefits, you'll get 10 $1 tokens, and then that is used as a currency of exchange. For debit, you'll get $5 tokens. So with the thing with the EBT tokens is that you won't get change. But most vendors realize this. They're familiar with how the currencies work. They're trained on this through their markets and through NOFA Vermont. We make it a priority that every vendor that is at a market that accepts EBT and is selling eligible SNAP products, so foods that you can buy with your SNAP benefits, just like a retail store. So your produce, your meats, your cheeses, your bread, everything pretty much but hot prepared foods and paper products and crafts. So anybody that sells eligible SNAP products is a part of the EBT project, is obligated to accept those benefits. So if there's a product that's eligible for SNAP, you see a $5 loaf of bread that you want to buy, or it's $4.99. Let's say $4.99. So you give them $5 in EBT tokens. Yep. You won't actually get a penny back in change. You can't give change for those, but pretend they also have. This is kind of where that once you get familiar with your vendors, you feel more comfortable doing this. But maybe there's something you can add on to it and make it $6, and kind of you can account for that one penny. Yeah. But so you won't get change for those $1, but those dollar tokens never go bad. So if you get $10 this week and realize you're not going to spend it all,
just bring them back next week.
Bring back next week. And another program to go along with EBT is a double value coupon program at farmers markets. In the past, this program has been called Harvest Health. So some of the listeners may be aware of the Harvest Health program, and that allows EBT customers to be able to double their benefits up to $10. So you can use each market day. You can use $10 in EBT benefits, and in exchange, you'll get $10 in coupons and vouchers. Wow. So that can be used to buy fresh fruits and vegetables. Yeah. So in a way, if you're doubling your purchasing power of those EBT benefits. So that's one thing. We expect the program to start in end of June. June 27th is kind of the day we're looking at, but that's not set in stone yet. But we're aiming for around that day. And that program, we're this year with some new funding that we got as a sub-grantee from Wholesome Wave, which is through the FINI, which is the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Program through the USDA. we're able to expand what formerly was the Harvest Health program. We're able to more than double the amount of coupons we're able to provide, and also expand it season long. So both for summer and winter markets, so that there is this continuity of increased food access all year round at markets.
So I'm so curious, when you're looking 5 years down the road, are you going to be a doctor with a holistic food practice on a farm, or where are you headed with these intersections of social justice and agriculture and public health?
I mean, I think there's a lot of work to be done in just general community building. I think that's another thing unique about Vermont. Even from the town meeting days, which was such a bizarre idea to me before moving up here, and just seeing the investment that people and families have in their community. Long term, I see myself just working towards building community and making sure everybody in Vermont has access to the great food that's produced here. And I feel that to be a movement in itself that will take up plenty of my time. My mom, I just got my mom is no longer asking me about when I'm becoming a doctor, and now she's just supporting me and asking me when I'm going back to school. But at least that's she's in full support of the kind of direction I'm heading. So it's nice to have that support.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming. You have so much energy. I'm afraid that I ran out of time and I didn't give you a chance to answer everything that you might have wanted to answer. So maybe you'll have to come back in a couple of weeks.
I mean,
You've been great.
More than happy. It's been great.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl.